Welcome to Taking Stock with Lisa Brown. Today we're going to talk about the latest trends with international work assignments. Are they still golden tickets to advancement at global companies, or has the remote workforce trend eliminated the need for boots on the ground overseas? Today I would like to welcome my guest, Lisa Burkard, Managing Director of Spectrum Group Consulting. She specializes in international benefits and global mobility. Spectrum Group provides services to assist with the design, implementation, and management of global mobility and international benefit strategies and solutions to Fortune 1000 companies. And prior to this role, Lisa was with UPS for 20 years in their International Compensation and Benefits Group. And she herself was also on an international assignment in Brussels, Belgium for a number of years. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm excited to be with you today.
So, Lisa, I've got several questions I'd love for you to opine on today as our audience thinks about taking on international assignments. The first is, can you tell us a little bit more about why taking on an international assignment could be a really important career move for someone climbing the ladder at a Fortune 1000 company today?
Sure. Accepting the challenge of an international assignment, can certainly be a very positive career move. More and more companies have expanded their operations globally. And with that, they've recognized the need for different skill sets and developing a more global acumen and a more global mindset. We're also seeing that companies are recognizing the value and the need for soft skills, such as adaptability, problem solving, and communication. And international assignments still remain one of the best ways to develop these types of skills. In fact, many global companies now require that their leadership teams actually have international experience. And certainly from an individual development perspective, you're much more, valuable a resource within your organization if you have that, those abilities and those skill sets, as well as being more marketable externally as well. Don't know if you've seen a recent college curriculum lately. I know I had not, but you might be shocked to see the number of international studies programs, international study abroad, international business strategy. Certainly the universities have recognized the need. They're hearing and seeing what skill sets companies are looking for, and they seem to have adapted their curriculum accordingly. In fact, we're certainly hearing that a lot of students are graduating with the anticipation and the expectation that they will be offered an international assignment.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it sounds like, early in your career, you're getting some education around, what it means to work in an international environment. And then as you move up the ladder, if you want to become, senior leadership, having that actual life experience overseas is continuing to be really important. So, let's say that I'm thinking an international role might be in my future. What are some of the things that I need to do to get prepared for that today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say first and most importantly, talk with your spouse and your family about the possibility of an international assignment, what that might mean, what opportunities that might present to the family, as well as some of the potential challenges. There's been study after study that has shown that one of the primary reasons that an assignment is not successful is because of the lack of family integration in the new host location, the new host country, and the lack of spousal or partner support. So it's really important that you have those discussions in the very beginning, with your spouse particularly, and with your family, because it's not just the employee, of course, that's impacted. It's the whole family, and everybody has to kind of buy in and be comfortable and excited about the opportunity. In addition, I think there's some pragmatic action steps that can be taken, such as educating yourself about the country of assignment. If you if you know what country or countries you might likely be offered an assignment, learning about those countries, learning about the culture and the norms. Also, if you're able to talk to a colleague, somebody that you work with, somebody that you know of that might have been on an international assignment or is currently on an international assignment, and just kind of learn from them. What's the good, bad, and the ugly, I guess. And then most importantly, let your employer know that you're interested in an international assignment and, why this might be a good fit, not only for you, but also for the company. Kind of have to also look at it from the company's perspective. These international assignments can be quite expensive. So if you can make your case for why there's a return on investment for the company to also offer the international assignment, that would be, I think, a good next step.
So you shared that one of the first things you need to think about to get prepared is involving your family. I know I've got several clients who moved their families overseas when they had an international assignment, and shared a lot of the good about getting their children exposed to a new culture and things like that. Are you still seeing the need for families to uproot and move overseas, or is it more the trend that the executive is jumping on a lot of airplanes, but the family's actually not moving with them?
We are seeing the need for international assignments. I think there will always be a need for the traditional long-term international assignment, where the employee and the family move to the new host country, and they're there for usually somewhere between 2 and 5 years. However, these types of long-term traditional, I'm going to call them international assignments, are no longer the norm. Even before the pandemic, these types of assignments were becoming less and less common, primarily because of the expense and the impact on the family, as you alluded to. What has become more prevalent are actually short-term assignments, which are typically 1 year or less, and the family typically stays at home, so they're considered unaccompanied. And then you would normally be, your housing expenses would be supported while on assignment, and you might return every couple of months for a short visit. You had mentioned extended business travel, and that trend was certainly beginning as well before the pandemic, that extended business travel as an alternative to even short-term assignments, being a less expensive alternative and a little less cumbersome on the family. The other type of mobility arrangement that is becoming very common are called one-way transfers, also sometimes called localizations or permanent transfers. And we do see this trend continuing, and I think it'll continue after the pandemic as well. And that is that employees would be permanently transferred to another country.
So I imagine when, even if it's a traditional international assignment, short-term or long-term, some things that change, like your benefits and the way you're compensated. Can you talk a little bit about what we should expect in terms of compensation and benefits changes with international assignments?
Sure. The compensation package itself will certainly vary depending on the type of assignment. In general, Lisa, all assignment types will usually offer relocation-related support services. So things like an orientation trip, usually with the employee and the spouse, household goods shipment, so the shipment of your personal household goods is usually offered. Travel expenses to the new host country. Sometimes temporary living benefits if you're not able to move into your new house immediately, upon your arrival in the new country. Also, most companies for most assignment types are going to offer tax consultation services, and then often tax preparation services as well. And then employee benefits are another, large component of your compensation. Usually the retirement, the disability, and the life insurance benefits if at all possible, those remain tied to your home country. So they would typically not change. Where it can become a little tricky is with the medical benefits. And that may depend upon the eligibility requirements in the host country and whether or not they're able to participate in the host country benefit programs or schemes, as they're sometimes called, which are often state run. So it just really depends upon the circumstances. But there are private global medical plans that are available for purchase, and many companies would purchase one of these very comprehensive global medical plans that are designed for people who are on international assignments.
I know that the tax piece is certainly complex, and that tax service is really critical to executives being able to handle that part of their lives without needing to figure it out themselves or know who to go to. So I know that that's one of the more valued resources clients have shared with me over the years that their companies had provided on for international assignments. So Lisa, if I'm a senior leader in a company or an HR professional, from my standpoint, what do I need to be thinking about when managing a global workforce?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you're that lucky HR professional that is tasked with this, couple of thoughts. I think that the first step I would recommend would be to identify the key stakeholders. These key stakeholders will generally include your talent management or your talent acquisition team, as well as the business leaders. And these are the business leaders who will be receiving they'll be the recipients of the global workforce talent and the skills that you're working so hard to develop. Other functional areas would include like compensation, total rewards with the benefits, corporate tax, legal. Those would also be other important stakeholders to reach out to. If you engage with these stakeholders early on in the process and really listen and learn from them, you'll have a much better result, I think, when you begin putting in your processes and your new policies. So if you start that collaboration very early on, I think it reaps huge benefits down the road. You'll also need to have a solid understanding of your organization's global talent objectives and strategies. It's also really important to know whether international experience and developing global acumen are critical skill development areas for your leadership team, and how best these skills can be developed. So gaining an understanding of how your organization views an international work assignment and how it kind of fits into the talent development strategy, particularly from the perspective of the role that international assignments may play as part of the career planning and the career pathing. That would all be really, really helpful, and I would say critical. Next, you'll want to hear from those business leaders, really hear from them, listen to them. What skill and talent gaps are they seeing? How are they viewing mobility and international assignments as a potential solution? These are the individuals who are going to be utilizing your global talent and will also be developing a lot of the necessary skill sets. So they're really critical in the process. So once you've done your homework and you've had those discussions with your key stakeholders, then I think you're going to be in a position to answer some key questions, such as how will mobility be used within your organization? What are the goals of offering an international assignment or a relocation or a permanent transfer? What is the criteria for offering an international opportunity? Who's eligible for the different types of mobility programs? And then finally, you'll be in a position to look towards the development of the actual policies and the programs. I was just recently looking at a survey. So this is a fair warning here. This was a survey published by the Associates for International Research. It's their 2021 Mobility Outlook Survey, one of the best known in the mobility industry. And one of the questions that they asked is, what is the average number of mobility policies per company? that number is now up to 6.2 policies per company.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's an increase of 5 years ago. In 2017, the response was 4.5 policies. So the trend certainly appears that more is better. And I think companies are seeing the need to develop a wide variety of assignment policies, to meet their mobility and their talent needs.
And I imagine that some of those policies are related to, extra risks that might be involved for their employees who are on international assignment. Are there risks that the HR professionals need to be planning for and thinking about in terms of their workforce that's overseas?
Yes, there certainly are risks. Probably the most obvious one, because we're in the midst of a global pandemic, are the health and safety risks that a company's global workforce just inherently has. So providing adequate resources such as travel support services, emergency medical benefits, medical and security evacuation services, those would all be critical. Companies also carry a duty of care to provide adequate safety and adequate support services and programs and tools to help protect their employees. Even when they're not traveling, that duty of care exists. But certainly when you're asking employees to travel on business or to live and work in another country, that duty of care is accelerated. There are other risks as well, namely tax and immigration. The tax risks really fall into three different categories. You've got corporate tax, you have personal income tax, and then you have payroll withholding taxes. So the tax piece can be quite cumbersome. The part that employees are most attuned to and are going to want to certainly know the most about as far as the company's support would be the personal income taxation. In general, personal income tax will be owed and assessed in the country or the state in which the work is performed. But a few countries, such as the U.S., just by virtue of your citizenship and permanent residency, also tax on worldwide income. So regardless of where the work is performed, the U.S. is going to tax that income. So ensuring that personal income tax returns are prepared and filed and then ultimately paid in either the home or the host country, would be one of those risks. I had mentioned payroll taxes as well. This is really more of a risk that the company has, that they properly file and report and then pay payroll taxes in the appropriate country. The third risk that I had mentioned is immigration compliance. So this is basically ensuring that employees have the proper work authorization and receive the appropriate type of visa, and then, when needed, timely extensions of those visas. There may also be residency registration requirements in the host country that must be adhered to, and that would be both the employee and then if the family has accompanied them, oftentimes there's a requirement to register with the local authorities. So quite a number of potential risks to manage, ranging from health and safety to tax and immigration.
So hearing you share all these complexities, I'm thinking no wonder why the number of policies continues to increase for anyone managing a global workforce. So it's certainly a complex area. The final topic that I'd love your perspective on, which I'm sure you've got a lot of thoughts on, is the new trend in working remotely, even if it's just within the U.S. How are you seeing that trend impact domestic and/or international assignments right now?
Yeah, that's a very, very timely question, and one that a lot of our clients are certainly asking and are starting to think about. I'm also seeing the development of a lot of policies around remote work. I really believe that remote work is here to stay, and it will have a huge impact on the way that companies manage their mobile workforce in the future. I think companies and employees have become more and more comfortable with the virtual technology, and it certainly is a way to reduce the cost of business travel, and I think employees as well really brings greater balance of work and family balance, and I just think for all those reasons it's here to stay. However, there are certainly still a lot of jobs that just cannot be done effectively, virtually. And if you think back to our earlier discussions about developing a global mindset and about some of the soft skills that need to be developed, I would still contend that the best way to achieve that would be an international assignment of some sort. And the trends that we're seeing even before the pandemic, such as more short-term assignments rather than long-term, I think those will continue. And I would anticipate that there'll still be the need for extended business travel, but I do think that it will be reduced as a result of the learnings from the pandemic, and other alternative type assignments will emerge with remote work and virtual work being much more commonplace.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting, 1, 3, 5 years from now to look and see how we all are working and getting that exposure that we need to develop talent, develop ourselves personally, and to have the experience that we want our staff to have in order to progress in their careers. So certainly on the forefront of a new trend, and I agree with those comments. Well, thank you, Lisa, for joining us today and sharing your timely tips on the trends in global mobility and international assignments. And for our audience, for more information or to get in touch with Lisa Burkard, you can connect with her on LinkedIn or visit her website, which is spectrumgroupconsulting.com. And Lisa can also be reached by phone at 678-699-8518. Thank you for joining us today, and be well.